You are listening to the Enormocast.
Alex Honnold once said that being in Black Diamond's solution harness feels like home. And that's either a ringing endorsement from one of the best or a desperate cry for help. The royal we here at the Enormocast is just going to assume it's the former, because the latter is quite complicated. And besides, we climb in a solution too. Not a sport harness or a trad harness, it's the one harness that stays in my pack for everything, because it's comfy and svelte without all the extra muckety-muck. I mean, really, what's a full-strength haul loop actually for? Anyone? Neither Smoot or Holly can tell you why you'd ever want 2,000 pounds hanging off your ass while you're climbing. So feel like you're home in a cleanly designed, comfortable solution harness from Black Diamond. And check out all their soft goods at blackdiamondequipment.com or your favorite retailer. Black Diamond, a proud sponsor of the Enormocast. La Sportiva presents Story Time. There once was a little boy named Tommy Caldwell. One day, little Tommy decided he wanted to climb a really big wall, but he couldn't find any shoes to climb the big wall in. So he decided to build his own out of Scotch tape, fluffernutter, and a used pair of hand jammies left behind by a couple of Euros in Camp 4. When those didn't work, Tommy called the adults at Sportiva and asked them for help. Sportiva came up with the TC Pro, named after little Tommy himself. A shoe so good at big wall climbing that little TC grew up to climb the hardest, biggest big walls in the world in his TC Pros. Then he talked his best friend, teeny tiny Alex H, into trying them, and Alex, well, he became a pretty good climber too. So if you want to be like TC or Tiny A, go to Sportiva.com or your favorite mountain shop and check out a pair of TC Pros, and maybe someday you'll grow up too. The end.
Listen, where are you playing in town? You playing here?
We're doing the Enormo Dome, whatever it is. It's terrific.
Oh,
it's
yeah, the big
fantastic.
place, that side of town. That's a big
nice.
place. You sold it out. 20,000 seats.
You really should.
Look, you better get up there before you panic. Those pens are loose. You're very good. I have really enjoyed climbing with you. We'll make it. I don't think so. But we shall continue with style. Bad weather. Now or later, anytime for climbing.
Today's show is brought to you by Black Diamond Equipment, with support from Maxim Ropes.
And the fine folks at La Sportiva. And don't forget our charter sponsor, Bonfire Coffee. Go to bonfirecoffee.com and enter Enormo at checkout for a discount on great coffee and to support the Enormocast.
And now back to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Enormocast. This is your host, Chris Gloose. It is about 9:30, May 31st, 2018. Getting this one in under the wire for the 2-a-month rule, the loose rule, the mostly rule I keep. Anyway, I've been out living life. That's why this one's running late. I've been living life, sucking the marrow. By doing what? Well, I went and climbed El Cap again after 12 years. Just completed an ascent last week, and that's what this one's about. We recorded a bunch of stuff up there, and I'm not sure what you'll think of this. It's a little bit of an experimental podcast. It's a little bit of an experimental Enormocast. I was up there with my friend Steve Dilk, who was been a couple-time guest on the show, one of the guys I go to Lander with every year, along with some other climbing adventures. Him and I went up there to climb the Golden Gate in whatever style we could, and it turned out to be less stylistic than I hoped, but that's all in the episode. So for you critics, it's another one that's a lot about me, another one in a row. So you can just toss May 2018 into the garbage and skip ahead if you need to. We'll be back talking to the other folks in the next couple weeks sometime. Also, I'm going to skip the outro because it's kind of long, so hope you enjoy this one, and don't forget to check your knot. All right, we're recording.
Whoa, nice.
It's that easy.
It's working.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, cool. Well, glad it has juice after hauling it all the way up here.
Yeah, totally. No, it's been a little brick in the haul bag. It's necessary though. You know, I'm a content creator.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're this is day 3 on our adventure up El Capitan, or 4 really, if you can count
The free blast day.
our free blast day. No, it's day 3 with the free blast. We've only been up here 2 days.
Right. Right.
We're in California. I'm here with Steve Dilk, a fan favorite on the Enormocast. Right?
You have the numbers. I don't know.
Fan favorite. Somebody was like, Dilk, love the Dilkster. We're on El Cap Spire. The idea was that we would do a little bit of recording every single day, but the first couple of days were rough, and we ended up late nighting it on the bivvy and just being like, eat, go to sleep, have midnight leg cramps, do some calisthenics in the middle of the night to try to alleviate my groin cramp from hauling. Stuff like that. So it's a lovely morning on the El Cap Spire on the Salathe Wall / the FreeRider / Golden Gate / Bermuda Dunes. What else comes up here? Probably some other obscuro line comes in from the other side. Right. Be my guess. Anyway, so we didn't get our first couple days of recording, but here we are on El Cap after 12 long years for me, and the first time for Steve, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep, on the Big Stone.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
How long have you dreamed of being on El Cap, Steve?
That's a good question, Chris. I can't help but think I probably saw climbers in like a Nat Geo, climbing it long ago, and just being completely awestruck and confused as to how it was even done.
Right.
You know, it's always the same questions everyone always has. How do you survive?
The people below.
Right. So, I don't know, 25 years probably.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
How old are you?
32.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
You've been dreaming of it since you were 7.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, you look at it and you're like, I'd like to do that.
Really?
You know? Yeah, for sure.
When I was 7, I wasn't thinking about stuff like that.
Oh.
I was like, oh, look at my penis.
Yeah, maybe not, maybe so, yeah, maybe not 7. Since I was a young lad.
What's that thing? That's a little, anybody who has little kids, little boys, that's what you're obsessed with from about then till you die. And in fact, this is just an extension of that obsession. Right. Climbing El Cap.
It went right to Freud, huh?
It's still somehow an extension of some sort of penis obsession. So we drove out to California via Bakersfield and the Buck Owens Crystal Palace, where we stopped to see country music star Buck Owens, who's now
superstar.
Yeah, he was a superstar, yeah. And his theater in Bakersfield, and Buck Owens, who's passed, but his theater still rages on, and so we stopped there and saw that. What else did we do on the way out?
Ooh,
not much.
Not much.
Really.
Yeah,
we
just kind of hauled
out here.
I mean, it's worth mentioning that it's a pretty awesome destination.
If
you like
Buck
rhinestone suits, and old guitars, you'll be pretty stoked.
Well, we were listening to another podcast that's kind of gotten some traction lately called Cocaine and Rhinestones. Yeah. Tyler something Co. Anyway, check it out. He's got a season out, and it's all these great old country music stories. And he's David Allan Coe's son, so he has some inside knowledge about all this stuff that went on. But we'll give a little shout out to his podcast because it got us through down the mile, so we kind of binged on it a little bit.
We actually kind of just retraced the steps from Vegas, because we stayed in Vegas, of all these original country and western stars.
Yeah, from L.A., which we didn't really realize. I guess I knew there was like a Bakersfield
thing happening because like Dwight Yoakam's from there and stuff. But just this whole Western swing country thing that was coming out of L.A. and then this like triangle between L.A., early Vegas days, and then Bakersfield was like these three sort of triangulated hotspots that these guys would travel around and make country music and superstars out of there. Anyway, but that's neither here nor there because we're on El Cap Spire. And so the first day we came out here and we got sorted out, and then we did the free blast in sort of the traditional way. Well, there's kind of two ways to do this side of the wall, and that is to either haul your stuff up the Hart Highway, which is a fixed 5-pitch hauling kind of run that's not really a climb. It's just got fixed lines on it. Generally these days they're just kind of permanently fixed because it's the way you get to access this whole side of the wall. And you can either haul your stuff up and then climb to it, or you go down, then haul up your stuff and either go blast it or just haul up your stuff and then wait for the weather window to go up and join your things and start up the wall. So we went ahead and did the free blast first. I'm enjoying some coffee, not bonfire, unfortunately. But so we did that on a very cold, alpine-ish, windy-ass day.
Yeah. Freezing.
Yeah, it was really nasty, actually. But, and it's very exposed out there. And plus you're trying to slab climb on desperate slab climbing, like in the wind, was not like even if it's not actually pushing you around, which it did one time where it definitely pushed me off balance, but just the noise and the flapping of your stuff and all that's just like in your head as you're trying to daintily slab climb up these things.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the clouds were just raging.
Yeah. We were in the clouds some of the day, which, we're not even 1,000 feet off the ground and we're in the clouds, like as they were kind of ripping through the valley below us. So, but the thing that you contemplate these days on this entire climb is Mr. Honnold without a rope on. And it was just like unfathomable to be up on those just desperate thin, slabs with no feet, no hands, just like padding up these slabs. And you're like, oh, what if I didn't have a rope on? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't think anybody can climb that anymore without thinking about that, which of course
certainly
is terrifying.
Right. I mean, a hold on these pitches is like,
well, there's nothing.
Fingernails. Yeah, digging into an edge or something.
I mean, it's funny because when you talk to non-climbers, that's what they imagine hard climbing is like fingernails.
Totally.
It's like drywall.
Right. Yeah, right. Just
which, we mostly roll our eyes at because it's just not the case. But and it's only 5'11". Like that's what it's rated.
Right.
And it's like you actually are on like fingernail holds almost.
Right.
You're trying to pat them with your fingers, but yeah. Anyway, so that's the free blast, like 5'11". We get up that, we come down, we take a day off, we hike our stuff to the base.
Yep.
And the ultimate goal, I forgot to mention that the ultimate goal was to climb the Golden Gate, which is a variation off of the Salathe just above us here, cutting out right, and it's 513. And sort of like if you're going to free climb El Cap, it's the step up after the FreeRider to go over there into some 2 or 3 pitches of 513, as opposed to the one pitch now of 513 on FreeRider that used to be 512 plus because a hold broke on it. Since I did it, the hold broke, and it's gotten a little bit harder. But otherwise, there's one pitch at 512. One pitch of 513, one pitch of 512, 2 pitches of 512 on the FreeRider, I think, is the way it goes. Plus a lot of really burly 511. So you get a lot of that on Golden Gate, but then you cut out into a couple more pitches of 512 and a couple more pitches of 513.
And a down climb.
That's supposedly really hard.
Right.
For short people. Anyway, so that was the original plan. And we'll get into why it was the original plan at some point on this this trip report that's ongoing, actually unfolding as we speak. The other thing is I brought this recorder up here because I thought, it would be fun to talk about how to do the wall, not only what's happening to us, but sort of how to get it done. So in kind of more of a traditional sense of how to get it done, whether you're climbing the Salathe or wall climbing the FreeRider or wall climbing any of these kind of things up here. But I actually have in the archives that we never got it done is the RV Project folks had this recording where Ethan Pringle did a bit of recording in his attempt to do the Golden Gate in a day. And I want to say he didn't actually do it. Or maybe,
really? I thought he did.
Oh, he did. Did he?
When we were down in the valley,
we
kind of mentioned it as if it had been done.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't read about it, so.
Nevertheless, I have it. So I'm kind of like stealing your thunder because we kind of never got it done because I never got back with Ethan. But maybe someday we'll put that out. I mean, it's still relevant. So anyhow, here we are, a couple of punters.
Right.
So then what happened on day one?
Well,
day one or day two climbing.
Day two climbing.
So when we blasted off up the ropes to get onto the route.
We quickly realized that the hauling system we had devised probably wasn't quite adequate for the load that we had, as far as like having the proper ratios of mechanical support.
Well, we'd watched some YouTube videos.
Yeah, we did some YouTube videoing
and how to do a 2-to-1.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it kind of worked at the local crag with like a 40-pound pack.
Well, it worked. Yeah, it worked.
It works.
I mean,
it works. No, we're here for sure. But I mean, what I'm referencing the Kong. Like not even the straight up mechanical
we had to
advantage.
Do some modifications,
like straight up,
route, which I think was probably understood that was going to happen.
Right.
So yeah, we had to do some mods on the hauling system. So, the question would be, why isn't it that Kalous, the big wall ace of old, doesn't know how to haul? And I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know.
It's because Chris is a solo machine out here, and he's not used to having some other people. So
I did some walls with other people,
right?
And we didn't use a 2-to-1. We just used body weight 1-to-1. And so I don't know maybe the Earth's gravity's gotten
heavier.
I mean, I remember when we did the Reticent wall, we had 3 people and we had a lot of stuff. But on that, because we had 3 people, you had like this dedicated hauling and extra weight. And there's a chance, and my memory is really terrible with all this stuff.
Yeah.
There's a chance that at least in the early part of it, we put 2 people on as counterweight.
Okay, right.
To get it up there.
Because you were so 1-to-1ing with a 3.
Yeah, we didn't have this ratchety system.
Wow.
Yeah.
This was in the 90s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we must have had 3 people. We must have had 2 people counterbalancing. Because the other thing is, I remember we had a giant, we had this really big pulley.
Okay.
I don't know if that made a difference. But
I think it's supposed to.
Yeah. Why we didn't have a ratchet system?
Yeah.
Well, because of what has been going on the last couple days, of like the frustration of like all that pumping.
Right.
For like inches.
No movement. Right.
You know? And like watching those guys that had the 3-to-1.
Yeah.
It's like literally inching it up.
Crawling.
So I think, I don't know. And then you're right. Like half the walls I soloed, so I just had my stuff.
Right.
I didn't have to have a whole bunch of extra shit. So.
Right.
So anyway, we learned how to haul.
Yep.
So then what else happened day one?
We met some nice Kiwis as Australians.
Yeah, Kiwi/Australians.
Yep.
Yep.
It
was only yesterday.
Yeah, it's all
2
blur.
days ago.
Right.
Well, anyway, so I remember, Steve.
Yeah.
So then we had 3 pitches to do.
Yeah.
To get to the top of the hollow flake from the heart ledges. A 511C pitch with this really burly boulder prom. The beta, which I'd worked out last time and I couldn't remember it, but then I finally did remember it and do it. But the Kiwis fell on it, or the Aussie Kiwis fell on it too. Yeah. But this is a move that Honnold skipped, actually.
That was the move.
Yeah, that was the move.
Right.
There's some way to like go a different way that's 5'10", but it's unprotectable. Obviously not a problem when you don't have a rope.
Right.
Because it's a desperate move. And, I mean, like desperate even maybe compared to the slabs, like, you know. Because you do like a little dyno to finish
I think it was more desperate than the slabs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So up we came of that, and then down into the Hollow Flake, which we kind of skipped because the boys had a fixed rope on it.
Yep.
And so
they were coming back down.
Yeah, because they were coming back down. And I was like, you know what? I've led the Hollow Flake a couple times in my life. I don't need to do it. Mini traction that, and got to our ledge late night, and got sorted out and was like totally wrecked and went to sleep because of all that hauling. So we hauled 8 pitches, climbed 3 that day. So now the other thing I remember about climbing up this wall the last time I did it was that through this series of very fortunate events, I'm realizing now how fortunate it was. I ended up inheriting 8 gallons of water that were in the alcove. And the alcove is 1 pitch below me right now, which is like pitch 17 or 16 or 18 or something of the Salathe FreeRider. And what happened is that I was here and I was like kind of moping around, just doing stuff, waiting for my partner to show up to do the FreeRider. And I got wind. A buddy of mine was like, Steve Schneider, a.k.a. Shapoopy, had fallen doing the Salathe. I think he had fallen, like just screwed up aid climbing the pitch above the ear with his wife, and had either broken or just like broken a rib or like wrecked himself. Ooh. Like just took some stupid, like going too fast aid fall and fell funny and like messed himself up. And then on the way down, and there's a way straight down. This is actually not a real well-known thing, but there's a way to go wrap straight down from the top of the Hollow Flake, a.k.a. Lung Ledge, to the ground with 70-meter ropes. You got to have 70s. But so they had wrapped down that, and like 3 pitches up, they had, like, while lowering their bags, just had created one of those rat's nests where you just, all of a sudden, it's probably the middle of the night, and Steve's fucked up, and, you know, they just were like, well, we have enough ropes to just get to the ground, so let's just leave our shit and get to the ground and get out of here. And so they had some big mess where their bags were still up there, but they had ropes fixed to the ground. And so the word is if basically a buddy said, hey, Shapoopy wants someone to go get his stuff because he can't do it because he's messed up. And if you do, you can have their water, which was in the alcove, 8 gallons. Ugh. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll totally do that. So I went up and got their stuff, like got their shit all sorted out. And it was just kind of just tangled up. And, you know, in the middle of the day, just relaxed. I could just totally get it undone and bring their stuff down for them. I left those pitches fixed. And so I now had 8 gallons waiting for me in the alcove, which was awesome. Yeah.
Amazing.
And so when we went up the FreeRider, we only had to haul those first 15 or 13 or 14 pitches, whatever it is, to here, with like a day and a half worth of water that we would use until we got here.
Sure.
Which is like another reason I don't know how to haul big, heavy bags, because we didn't have to.
Fortune smiled on you for
Because here's the other thing is that the bottom half, but basically almost to here, is a huge pain in the ass to haul because it's a giant slab.
Right.
And you don't actually realize how slabby it is until you look down on it from here.
It's insane.
It looks like people are just standing on it. Like when they're climbing, they look like, you're like, why don't just stand up and walk?
Totally.
I mean, it doesn't feel like that climbing it, but here it really, you see how slabby it is. And so from here on out, it's steep. And so we just I didn't realize until this trip what we got away with, but we got away with totally sweet.
Yeah, the best deals basically possible.
By the time we were here, we were down to like 6 gallons. You know, or 7-8 gallons at the most. And so we got lucky for sure. Day 2, we got to catch us up here. Day 2, we wake up on Lung Ledge, and
it was awesome. It was my first portal ledge experience.
yeah, we slept on the portal ledge.
Yeah.
Because the ledge is, you could squeeze out a bivvy there, but you'd be sleeping in like 50 years of urine.
Right. Would you say you just contract dysentery?
Yeah, you definitely contract dysentery sleeping inside of that, on that gravel. The one like thing about El Cap is it smells like pee, the entire thing.
That is harkening back to that National Geo article. It's like the glamorous t-shirts and shorts.
Yeah.
You never think that you're just. There's a pitch coming up called The Sewer.
Yeah,
and that's
sewer.
kind of what it smells like.
Well,
all the time.
that's natural.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But at least in the spring, it's not quite as pissy smelling.
Yeah, it hasn't heated
By the
up
fall, when it hasn't rained all summer, and there's been like, one after another party up this thing, it's
Just
stinky.
like mustard gas.
Yeah, totally. So, the one thing though is that the since my day even, they've been having those Yosemite facelifts. In the first few ones of those, they really like came up here industrial.
The numbers, I remember hearing hundreds of pounds of stuff was coming out.
Because
it was insane.
The whole vibe has changed even since I started my first Yosemite wall climb, El Cap climb was probably in like 94 or 95. I think it was Mescalito. And then we did, then I sold the Aquarian wall next, I think. But even back in the aughts when I came up on the FreeRider, like behind every flake on every ledge was like just garbage.
Right.
Because the vibe, and I actually caught the very end of this, I was telling you.
Yep.
The vibe was like, this was so desperate that anything you could do to keep like going. So you actually, the total ethic, and this is kind of like one of these things that's like kind of shocking. The ethic was you just threw your garbage off. Well, no, your cans. Because you're up here eating
so
cans.
Awesome. Yeah.
And you just would eat your can and you'd huck it.
It's like being on the Jersey Turnpike.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. I know people are like, what? Yeah, you just, and everybody's like, well, that was probably just you, Calouse. But no, it was the deal is you just got rid of all the weight.
Right,
because you were
sure.
just like, we have to get
streamline, yeah.
And then you would supposedly, well, not everybody, but if you had any ethics at all, you would go back and like clean up a bit afterwards.
Right.
But half of that shit didn't make it to the ground.
Look below you. Right.
And so everywhere you climbed on El Cap, there was garbage and cans like hidden and shit. The other thing is I was right at the cusp of this, but you would shit in a bag, like a big paper bag, and huck it. And this, I think people know because there were famous stories of people getting hit with shit and stuff.
Yeah.
So you would huck it off.
I don't mean to laugh because that would be the worst.
The idea was that your paper bag would be biodegradable. And I think back in Robbins' day, when nobody was climbing up here, that was like a somewhat reasonable, like, oh, we'll just
sure. How could they imagine that so many people?
Right. But by the mid '90s, you would be walking through the woods down there, and it was, again, like Jersey Turnpike, but with shit.
Right.
But at least like the Jersey Turnpike, the homeless people maybe, but not every car driving by is hucking like bags of poo out the window too.
Although there are those industrial sections that smell like sewage.
So, and it was just like considered part of the deal. And then in the next few years after I started climbing here, the poop tube came into vogue.
Yep.
And people started to realize and I actually on my own, I kind of said well, if that's the difference between me topping out and not topping out is like 5 cans, 5 empty cans, I'm like, then I really shouldn't be up here.
Right.
That's like how close the margins are.
Yeah.
Is 3 pounds of fucking tin.
Right.
I was like, so I actually, on my own volition, not to toot my horn, but I was shocked at that. And you come in and you're like, all right, you're just overwhelmed by the size of the thing. You're like, I'm going to do everything necessary to get up there.
Right.
But then as you're up here, you're like, that's not necessary.
Seems weird.
So I started carrying my garbage early on, and maybe my poop came a little bit later. But then I was in the era where there were these holdouts, and some of the guys I climbed with were kind of holdouts of
sticklers for the old style.
Well, just, you know, it was the same in the creek when we put toilets in. Right. You know, there were dudes who'd still just grab their shovel and go off into the, because like, you know, the joy of pooping next to a creek in a riparian zone was just too much for it. They just had to do it. Sitting in a stinky block toilet, just, you know, their rights were being trampled on.
That's right.
So there was a transition in the 90s, and then pretty much now, it's like, it's like leave no trace if you can other than your pee.
Right.
But back to the facelift, man, there's pictures of dudes with full, like, hazmat suits, basically, like, digging out the stuff on the, I haven't climbed the nose, but one of the nose bivvies has a big crack behind it. Yeah. Where you just, like, you know,
that's where everything goes.
Threw your crap in there. Right. And in the early days, it would, like, disappear, and you couldn't imagine, like, anyone ever seeing it again. Yeah. It was filling up with garbage, right? Yeah. And so good on those people that did that.
Volunteers, probably.
Yeah. Because I remember looking behind the spire here, and even in the 90s, or the aughts, it had a bunch of garbage in it. And I looked today, and I didn't see anything.
I didn't either.
And you really only see the random, like, something accidentally dropped, or they blew it off, or so good job on that.
Yeah, big time. That's unimaginable to me. Right. Yeah.
So we'll finish up here, and I think we'll report in after today if we can. If we're not like completely destroyed.
Totally.
We've got 2 or 3 days, 3 days at least of whatever we're gonna do, which we have a choice to be made in a few minutes here, which we'll get into a little bit later. But the other thing is that we've got like a kind of a marginal forecast, where we've got as much as 50 to 60% rain in the next couple days after today. Today's super nice. So anyway, that's playing into our decision making. But we're running heavy. We've got we could be up here for at least 3 or 4 more days if we needed to. Right. And probably a lot longer.
Yep. If we really rationed it out.
Which is why hauling was so heinous.
Yep.
So, all right. Checking out.
Right.
And go climbing. Here we are. Day 3.
Day 3.
Was it day 3 or 4?
Today's 4. Monday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, day 4.
Yeah, day 4 or 5,
including the first day.
So we've been up here a while.
Yeah.
So catch everybody up. We left the spire yesterday, which is when we recorded this. The first half or first part of this was in the morning on the spire. So we were about to bail. Right. Onto the Salathe, FreeRider Salathe, actually just the Salathe, just because I was so worked. I was like, fuck this, hauling had been killing me, and you know, we had a really bad forecast. Yep. Well, it didn't seem that bad, but we'll catch up to that in a minute. So, but then, I don't know, it was nice out, got excited. So we took a right turn onto the Golden Gate after all. Did 5 pitches, 1 down, 1 up, 1 down, 1 up. And then half of another pitch where things got a little bit haywire. And pretty run out pitch, 510 C or D, but on really wet rock. And so I was out there mucking around and trying to figure it out. And lo and behold, this rope suddenly comes down.
From the heavens.
From the heavens. And it was Brad Gobright trying to escape the El Corazon, which comes in from the right over there, after having kind of gotten beat down on it, but just trying to do it in a day.
So down he came, and he was like, man, do you want me to tie this rope off? I was like, fuck yeah, dude. So he ties it off, and I throw a Jumar on it, but I do the moves, but they were terrifying, even with the Jumar on there.
Yeah.
And then before I got through it quite, first of all, he's like, hey, I'm going to take this off now, the rope. I was like, no, give me like 1 more minute.
Not quite.
And then my haul line got stuck too, or my tail line got stuck too, and so I came to a screeching halt. Luckily, there was a bomber blue camel out right there, so I trammed into that bad boy, and felt pretty good. Let Brad go, and we bailed back down to the ledge to Bibby for the night.
That's right.
It was a wonderful night, and then we woke up this morning.
Yeah.
You want to take it from there, Steve?
Well, sure. It dawned nice again, and I felt like we got up early and had a good movement, and cranked through the rest of that pitch,
right,
which was still wet and terrifying, on like weird mank kind of through it. But we decided not to kind of leave because of the bad forecast, to leave our ledge up and camp up and just go to the next pitch and fix them. And so ultimately that's what we did. I think, is that called the sewer pitch?
No, the sewer pitch is on the Salathe.
Oh, okay.
That's just a grimy fucking...
Oh, man, whatever that is called. Yeah, that's might as well be called the sewer.
The next pitch is just short, but like, again, really wet crack. And
overgrown.
Right, overgrown with massive bushes, and then out across this wet slab, and then you're at this really crappy belay before the boulder problem pitch, or the move pitch they call it, and just like a junk. One bolt's in this giant wet streak. Well, that's actually where the belay is in this giant wet streak. Maybe it's not wet in the fall. It's fucking wet right now.
Right.
So a nice old rusty bolt, and then there's another bolt like 5 feet to the left of it. That's newer, and so then you do this like massive equalization down like 5 feet of those two bolts, and that's the anchor, which I find to be a bit disconcerting. But we have bolt kit, and because there's some bolts that need to be replaced on that pitch anyway, but the only way to really make it a belay is to put another bolt in the wet streak, because you're kind of half on the first bolt of the climbing,
right,
as part of your belay. So I don't know, it's just kind of a mess up there. And then there's been a couple bolts that have fallen out or been pulled out of the crux pitch, and so that thing's all, it's one of the crux pitches. It's got like these, like, looks like 10-foot tat that you kind of clip up as you're climbing it. So it's not super inviting, actually. And to make up for the lost bolts, I guess. And we have 3 bolts and a bolt kit, which the idea was that we would replace those, but who knows now that we are going to fall behind, because what happened after we got to that belay before that move pitch, is I was freezing my ass off.
In the wet streak.
Yeah, and I'd gotten pretty wet, and I came back down to the camp, our belay ledge, and to get some more clothes on and to warm up, and then Steve, wait, how did it go? You came down?
Yeah, I came down, ate some food, and I was jugging up to start hauling.
Yeah, we were going to close camp and haul up to there.
Yep.
And what happened?
The storm.
Yeah.
Fully hit us.
Full deluge. Luckily, Steve got back down to the ledge, and we had left it set up because it poured. And then we had like a big kind of sunny hole for a little bit, and we started to contemplate going back up and maybe trying to at least fix the next pitch. And then it rained again, even more significantly, I think.
Right.
And then it's just been kind of raining off and on all day since then, and we're sitting in our ledge. And then one snafu that is vexing us is that our headlamps are in a bag up on that belay. Because we have like a little transport bag that goes with us each time, and they went in there this morning instead of in the haul bags. seeming like, oh, that was probably a good idea to have our headlamps with us at all times.
Right.
So they're up there, and I, in a respite from the rain, even though I actually have sat through these kind of storms before, and I mentioned to Steve, I was like, yeah, when the clouds start rising up off the valley floor, then it's going to rain again soon. And so I said that, and then I waited like 15 minutes more, and then I got out there, and I'm like, I'm going for the headlamps. And I fucking jugged halfway up that rope, starts raining.
Clouds are just flying up the wall.
Flying up the wall. I wrap back down, and I didn't want to open up our fly and let the storm in while I climbed in the ledge. So I actually situated myself under the ledge, hanging on a Jumar and my gree directly under the ledge, trying to stay out of the rain.
Through the worst part of the rain.
Yeah, I think the worst rain of the day, just sitting down there and doing all right, except for water was running down the rope and dripping on me via my gree. So I had to deal with that. And then it let up again, and we got our stuff up here into the ledge. And that's where we sit at this point, is that our headlamps are still up there. It's not currently raining, actually.
True.
And the wall's running with a significant amount of water, though. So I think if you get out on that line, it'll probably feel like it's raining anyway. But I don't know. We probably still have, maybe an hour or two of daylight.
That's what I would guess.
Like.
Yeah.
So there may be a point at which we have to just suck it up. Actually, there's going to be a point at which we have to just suck it up and go jug up there and get the headlamps. And that's day 4.
Day 4.
We have 9 or 10 more pitches that aren't fixed. All the hardest climbing. And it's like the wall is completely drenched. So we'll see what happens. Although I have been sitting here devising a way to get down, I think.
We feel confident in that.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably take a day,
Sure.
Maybe even more.
Right.
But a day going down is easier than a day going up. So, anyway, so we're going to see what the weather does. The forecast was that this was the worst day, but there's still a unsettled day or two ahead of us. So if both of those are rainy days, then we're probably done. If we can get a little climbing done in there, then we'll probably go up to the top. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But it's damp, chilly, and that's day 4 of anything you want to add.
No.
No?
I didn't think it rained in Yosemite, right?
No, it's all T-shirts.
It's all T-shirts.
Alex Honnold in a pair of shorts and a T-shirt, just fucking standing out there. No rope or anything. No, it definitely rains. I've been rained on a number of times on El Cap, so this is not the first time, and it is an unfortunate turn of events. But we're dry.
Yep. It was forecasted.
Yeah, it was forecasted. I mean, not when we left the ground, it was.
Right.
We left the
That's
ground.
True.
Remember the locals were like,
perfect
weather.
weather.
You got the perfect
Nailing
weather.
it.
Totally awesome for the next week.
Yes.
That's not the case. So we did find out about this a day ago. We have our phones that are both dead now.
Yeah.
So, in this, if you guys find this recorder and we're, no longer of the living, this will be a last testament to who we were, what we were up to at the end. That's kind of morbid. I might cut that out.
Yeah, I would definitely cut that out. Personally, I felt like me getting into climbing was inevitable because it just fits my personality type. And looking back, I had a lot of different influences, but that's to me like why climbers get so kind of hardcore into it, because it fits the kind of gaps in people's lives that they've been looking for so perfectly that once you find it, you know that it's exactly right, and that feeling of like exuberance is like rapture for someone who believes in religious in religion.
Right.
And so then that feeling just carries you, that kind of completeness carries you for a long time. Sometimes decades, or that's why you become a dirtbagger, get so into it. So,
sitting up here right now, 25 bitches up El Cap, 47, I got 2 kids. It's like, and I've remarked on this before to friends or whatever, but that, I don't know, there's a point in your climbing, and this is sort of depressing, but that your trips are about kind of trying to recapture that original feeling that you're talking about.
Sure.
Like the rapture,
yep.
as you were talking about, like the feeling of, the exuberance or of those first years climbing and the first trips and the first time seeing all this sort of stuff. You go over this hump to where it's still fun, and like especially going on trips is still fun. But I don't know, the last time I went on a trip by myself before this, maybe one of the European trips, but you get on the plane and I just don't remember, not like you're missing this spark or this feeling that you used to have.
Sure.
And part of it is that you've had to do so much more coordinating and shit to get the trip done,
right.
And you've got like stuff you didn't get done and is pending, and whatever is like mundane as it sounds, like an email that you didn't send, and like all this shit that you just didn't do, and so that's like oh well,
right.
And you've got your 2 weeks or your 3 weeks, and you're going to come back to this clusterfuck. Right. So all those things I think add to it, but it's also that you're just never going to recover that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, sure.
That feeling.
Right.
And
well, it seems almost like, to put it in more like visual terms, like the trip's already closed off, whereas like even a trip like this, like I have another 2 weeks off still, and I'm like, theoretically I could meet someone down below and be like, I'm going to just hang here for another 2 weeks, Caboose.
Yeah.
And I'm just like open-ended still.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like it like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You're like boxed off already with just more stuff added on.
Yeah.
Which is, I get it.
Right.
But it's like, no.
Well, and I feel it on this wall. Like I don't have this, like, I used to climb this thing, like, felt unstoppable.
Sure.
Like I felt like there's no way I'm not going to climb to the top of this thing.
Right.
I've got enough supplies.
Yep.
And it's like this whole time we've been on here, I have these question marks about, well, what if there's some shit up there I just can't even get through?
Right.
Yep. On this free climb because I'm out of shape. Have I bitten off more than I can chew this time? And it's like that could translate into adventure. Right? And be like, well, that's what's cool about it.
Right.
But, since I've got this family and all this other stuff, I was just thinking to myself about Miles and about, like, Tommy, who has 2 kids, and Josh Wharton, another friend of mine that's got 1 kid. And I'm like, are those guys, like, as, bummed to be away from their kids as I am?
Right.
And how does it affect their climbing, and how does it affect their psyche, and how does it affect, again, sort of the risks that they're taking?
Yeah.
Because the funny thing is, and I think it's a matter of time having gone by, but like this feels way more risky to me for some reason than anything I've done on El Cap, and it's objectively it's not.
That seems insane to me, considering you were telling me about using a tent pole to blind hook on things.
Yeah. I know.
Yard yourself.
Right. No, I know. And we've talked, and it's like we've been talking about all the different times I've been up here and all the stupid shit that happened. And
solos in winter.
Yeah, the winter solos and without a stove. And I didn't have a stove. I don't know. It didn't seem that important. Just warm water between my legs.
Purposely no stove.
That seems strange.
It's so strange.
It's so strange that maybe I didn't. Maybe I had one and I just
didn't
forget
use
it.
Yeah.
But I don't think so, because I wouldn't have had... Jet oil didn't exist. So
right.
There was like these super hardcore alpinist ones.
Yep.
which were way too expensive.
Right.
And you had to get like a special gas for them.
Well, even talking about the backpacking background, that you can crush cans and throw alcohol or whatever, light that shit up.
Yeah. None of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I'm right about not having one. Anyway, but anyway, it's just like all that stuff where I'm waking up each morning like kind of nervous and trepidatious about the day and like getting through these pitches. And now we're, that's why I was almost going to have snail eye and just say, fuck it, let's go up the Salathe.
Right.
Because I know the 100%, like that thing we can get up. I see one, we're just cruising.
Yep.
But here we're on a pit, it's like you have to free climb.
Right.
Like, and if it keeps raining or whatever, all those things change.
Yep.
And I mentioned that this morning when we woke up, like the idea that if you're on an aid wall, like inclement weather sucks, and like it raining like it rained yesterday, you're shut down.
Totally.
Like it fucking poured.
Yeah.
But you can kind of get into it because you can get through stuff even when it's like not so good. And not only are you free climbing on this, but I'm like free climbing at my limit.
Right.
So it's like you kind of have to have pretty good conditions.
Yep.
And again, like it's not like I can just switch because it's a crack. Like the Salathe head wall, if I was trying to free climb that, like you can't free climb it. Well, fuck it. You just put in gear and go for it.
Yep.
But on this thing, 10 feet of nothing means you're not going any further.
Right.
10 feet of no gear and face climbing and, bad weather and you're done.
Yeah, wet rock.
Right. And so, and there's nothing, nothing like on the Salathe where you're done.
Yeah.
In terms of just, if you have like a reasonable rack.
Yep.
So I don't know. So anyway, all those things have been going on, and anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting, just the kind of line between what is an adventure now and what is just like,
Yeah.
Like, it's funny. Well, a while ago, I was hanging out, and MK had talked about climbing the Shadow Wall when he was like 40-something, and HK was like 7. And he claims that's his hardest climb ever.
The Shadow Wall, what's that?
On Mount Hunter.
And we're talking about Michael Kennedy and Hayden Kennedy.
Right.
For those of
Yeah, sorry. Our lingo. Right.
MK and HK.
Michael and Michael Kennedy. So the Shadow Wall is this like gnarly big wall in Alaska in the range, Mount Hunter. And I don't know if it's ever been repeated or maybe just once or something.
Right.
And but he claimed that was his hardest, kind of best climbing he's ever done because it's fully just crazy alpine climbing. But yeah, HK was like 8, or he was like, a blonde-haired kid, gangly running around, like, and I was just like, whoa, like, and he said it pretty matter-of-factly, like, and Julie was there, MK's Michael's wife, and was just like, yeah, like, maybe we were talking about this, like, when you get older, can you still climb and have that mentality? And I guess maybe it's easier when you're not, like when you're on a portaledge and you're not looking down seeing cars and thinking of like family and stuff, but when you're in the Alaska range and you don't see a single soul for, I don't know. But that always struck me that Michael was the standout that like was able to maybe compartmentalize it a little bit.
Yeah, but that's 7 years ago for me.
Right.
When I was 40.
Right. That's true. I don't know how old I think you're right. So I thought maybe 40s.
Yeah, in his 40s. So yeah, and but he definitely chilled out.
Definitely.
Eventually.
Yeah, for sure.
So and it's like when I kind of thought up this trip, I was like, I wonder, and there's a lot of question marks, not only about the ability but also just the stoke to go back up on El Cap after 12 years and the kid and everything else. So there's a lot of questions being answered. Yeah, it's just more of that evidence that aside from your physical abilities, your mental sort of game changes, whether it's for better or worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the start of this conversation talked about this idea of climbing and being, rapture-like or whatever, and then significantly whether that erodes or whether you can keep doing that. And maybe there are climbers out there, and maybe Ron Kauk's one of them. He still lives here in the valley and climbs, and
Like he still has tapped into that like original electricity. But it'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he did. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not gonna have time to track him down this trip, but
maybe he'll pass us.
Yeah, he'll pass us.
See him.
Yeah, right. Hey, how's it going, guys? I found a little frog down there in that crack. Do you know that video? No. It's some old Ron Cock video.
Like an old Stonemaster or something?
No, it's like, I don't know what it... Yeah, maybe it was one of the Masters of Stones.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like bouldering and he's just like all natured out and he's like talking about the frogs. And he's like, hey, little frog. I just said, hey, frog. Like super California kind of dude. Anyway, look that one up. Yeah, so here we are on the portal edge.
Yeah.
Fucking waiting for the sun, seeing what the weather's gonna do. Trepidatious, nervous. At a flip of a switch we could go down. All these things, wall climbing.
Watch out. The last of the coffee.
That's it.
The last of the swaggy coffee. Hey, do we have more? Huh?
I'm just joking that you had like a whole another baggie of it. Oh, we didn't take our medicine last night.
Oh,
or are we out of it?
No, we have medicine.
Oh, man. Yeah. I'd choke some after this.
Yeah.
More like a liquid breakfast.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
I've had enough. Had enough for the big walls.
Yeah.
Good for the rest of my life.
Oh. No, you and Steph are coming back for Lurking Fear.
Yeah, right.
I'll be here in the valley. I'll be climbing.
Coming back when?
In the fall.
Oh, you're gonna be here in the fall?
I've already decided I'm coming back in the fall.
You gonna climb a big wall?
I don't know. Probably not.
No?
If Joseph wants, he wants to work here, but it'd be fun to just crank a lot of the smaller pictures and go for a rostrum or something.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, this kind of dominates your trip then.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to recover from it.
Yeah.
So. But you're in shape. That doesn't take that long.
Yeah, well, and that'd be the
not
goal.
in shape.
To come and get in shape.
Okay, a 47-year-old dad. Then it takes a while. I'm gonna be like fucking worked for a while, I think. There may even have been permanent damage done.
Maybe a doctor's visit.
Yeah, we'll see. Some dry needling.
Right.
Although the funny thing is my elbow right here.
Yeah.
Fine.
Perfectly good.
Yeah, which is like hurting.
Right.
All like for the last month.
Yep.
I mean, it hurts a tiny bit, but it doesn't. It's something I was worried about. And basically, I think that the pain in my shoulders is just like all the pain receptors have moved there. So I moved to the shoulder.
Yeah, my shoulders really hurt too. Definitely see it. So we're on the tower to the people.
It's like the morning of the 7th day. We've been up here for 7 days.
7 days.
We had 2 days of rain, where we got a little bit done on each day. So we're pretty much on track though, how I thought it would take to climb. It was 5, maybe top out on the 6th day. And yesterday we climbed, we hauled in the morning a 200-footer we had set up, and then we did 5 pitches, getting through the crux climbing via a new mode of climbing, which is a combination of free and aid, and it's called frayed climbing. And when you do a bunch of frayed climbing, you've done it in a frayed ascent.
Because generally when you get afraid, you pull out the fucking 8ers.
Go ahead and bring them up.
Yep. Tugging up the 8ers. So anyway, but luckily we got through it all on frayed. Frayed. And we have our ropes fixed now to the top of something like the 33rd pitch or something, the 32nd
49th pitch.
I don't know.
Right.
And we have 3 more pitches to go today, unfortunately, at this point, being over it. But
it's a beautiful day.
Yeah, it is a nice day. We have good weather.
Finally. Yeah.
And it's a nice bivvy. We had a good night. And things were dry. Hey, turn off the stuff. 11A pitch, 12A pitch, 5-9 pitch, and a little mini pitch to get to the toppity top. So 4 hauls, 5 hauls, 4 hauls. No, 5 hauls. 5 hauls, 4 pitches. And maybe walking down, hopefully walking down too. Getting down, not really walking down, but rappelling down through the east ledges, which I haven't seen in quite a few years. But yeah, survival.
Yeah.
Luckily we were heavy.
Right.
And we've been pretty much 7 days worth of like solid food and water. We have tons of water still because it's been cold and rainy.
Yep.
Plus I think a gallon a day is too much.
Yeah.
Although I was worried about the heat more than anything.
I was too.
And so, anyway, we got a lot of water left. Probably dump some. And off to the top.
To the top. Yes.
Last installment.
Yeah,
We're a long ways from El Cap now, though.
that's right. Somewhere in the Great Basin.
Yep.
Yep.
Wheeler Peak in the distance. We've been driving. We drove yesterday from Bishop. It's been, 3 days? 2 days since we came down?
3?
Yeah. So not last night. Not the night before. The night before.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. When was the last time we started this thing up? We were sitting on the Tower of Power, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Actually called the Tower to the people, but
Yep.
that seems a little awkward to me. So we started calling it the Tower of Power after the band. Yeah, the last we were sitting there with the ropes fixed, I think.
Yeah, that was exactly right. Yep.
It was the morning of day 7.
Yeah, we had managed to punch through.
Yeah.
Yep.
So day 7 was another trying one.
Yes, still not a giveaway.
We ended up climbing the Beam Flake, the Razor Blade, the Golden Eagle.
Right.
This 2 pitches on this big wafer thin flake that isn't super hard. It's like some kind of strenuous 511, not very technical. But the flake is so wafer thin that you don't really put gear behind it because it'll expand. Probably. You don't know. It's like A5, you know. If you don't fall on it, you don't know whether or not your gear would have held you. But then the old Hubers they punched holes in it so they could sling it. And a lot of those slings are still there. They're just like old tat flapping in the wind. And, you know, because you can't really get anything else in there because the hole's like sometimes just like the width of the rope that's through there. You can't replace the tat, like at least not on lead, because you'd have to like saw it out of there, right? Then stuff yours in and like tie a knot and all like hanging on a bad jam. So you just clip the tat and keep going. Again, wasn't terribly hard climbing, so that was nice. And then the final pitch just had just enough in it to like kick your ass off with off with layback kind of thing to start, and then just a really single hard move. Only rated 11B, probably correct on that. And but just by the end of the show, it's like 36 pitches up or whatever. I found it to be very difficult. Followed by some tricky route finding to get to the actual top. So
The infamous dots on the topo.
yeah, right. I realized
dashes.
that when it comes to topos, I don't like dashes. I don't like the little dots and dashes, because that usually means that it's like you're just questing off on some face without any pro.
Right.
When the like line ends and the dots start, that means the crack's done and you're off on your own on some sort of fucking slab. So avoid the dots.
True on this route.
Yeah. But anyway, then we topped out and ran into another team we had started with who were on the FreeRider from Australian, New Zealand, American team.
Yep.
Who we'd been calling the Anzac team. And we all started going down because we thought maybe we'd stay on top, but then the weather was the forecast was grim.
Right.
And so we bailed off the top. We also met a dude from Kosovo via Alabama. Yeah.
Yep.
Been living in the States a long time, sounds like, up there as well. So anyway, we hustled down with our giant haul bags on. Hustling meaning it took us, like 5 hours?
5 hours, yeah.
To just march down in sort of increasing pain, but with these giant haul bags on. Plus, you have to wrap with the bags, which is a whole kind of ordeal to make sure you don't drop them, or make them unbearable to carry down. Basically, you clip them straight to your gree carabiner, and it can be a fatal error, literally, to try to rappel with them, like on your back or something. Even that would be just impossible with the size of ones we had. But people get down and even a pretty heavy, smaller one, and they get on a rope and flip themselves upside down and pretty quickly start to suffocate. More of that people have like gotten flipped back in the day without the gree and lost control, and flipped off the end of the rope or whatever. So yeah, always put your loads on your beaner and let the gree or your rappel device do the work when you're rappelling with something heavy. So we get down and march down to the valley floor, arriving about 10:30.
Yep.
And then what else did we do?
So then we marched back to the car.
Yeah.
And met the Anzac team.
Yeah, Anzacs were still there.
And we had our requisite celebratory beer.
Yeah, we had a couple beers left.
And that was awesome. And then we noticed that the crackdown had begun.
Don't forget Caro.
Oh, right. And and Caro.
Yeah,
right.
From Louisiana.
Yep.
She was hanging out.
Yep.
Yeah, so you have to drive around and get your stuff and then come back. And by the time we got back, that's what you were going to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the crackdown had begun.
Yeah.
Right.
When we'd gotten to the valley, everybody had been talking about how easy it was to illegal bivvy by the, around, just anywhere. Team Anzac had been doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and we got there early in the morning a couple times, and it was like clear as day that everybody was packed into their cars asleep.
Yep. All throughout the valley.
Yeah, throughout the valley.
Everywhere.
We were astounded.
Yeah.
We were and kind of embarrassed for the Park Service.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. It's like their standards had slipped.
Yeah, had slipped.
Right.
Had completely. They basically, the monkeys were running the show.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so by the time we got down, though, and plus this is Thursday before Memorial Day weekend that they'd had their meeting, I think, about clamping down.
Yep.
Because the honest truth, and the long-standing kind of like simmering conflict between law enforcement and the climbers is not. It's blown out of proportion in some cases. It was a big feature piece of the Valley Uprising and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also real. It's also going on.
Right.
And there are definitely, ebbs and flows of how they deal with climbers and whether they clear them out. But the truth is sometimes the climbers force your hand.
And I think
Yeah.
that's
This is
basically like, I think every
example.
spring they just basically gotta like, the broom has to come through and sweep out
Right.
all the indigents
Right.
and just put everybody back on alert that,
Yeah.
you know, you got to work a little harder.
Yeah, people are getting soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you walk by like a Subaru Outback and the windows are all blacked out with, you know, the silver, like, insulating window shades,
Right.
and it's like
Trap House Power Rangers blanket across the front.
exactly. And then it's like steamy. Every bit of
Right.
window is like completely steamed out.
Right.
It doesn't take like Sherlock fucking Holmes to realize there's a person in there, you know? Like, it's not like they have to do some sort of, you know, swab the car and like
Right.
take it to the lab. to
Have the
see.
heat sensor,
Right.
right.
So they're basically, we're letting everyone get away with shit. And then finally, we watched him just go door to door in the meadow.
Yeah, ticket book in hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't know what happened to you guys. If you're listening, Team Anzac,
Yeah.
they were like 4 cars away from you when we
Totally.
left.
And your light was on.
Your
We're
light
like,
was
get
still
in
on.
there. God, shut it down.
So we bailed. It was, by now it was like midnight.
Yep.
We'd been climbing since whatever in the morning. We'd hiked our asses down. Like the walking down with haul bags, the haul bags we had, was probably the most physical effort jammed into 5 hours. It was like,
I agree.
I mean, it was like 5 hours of the most intense CrossFit
Yes.
session
Yep.
ever.
You can imagine.
I
Yep.
mean, all legs.
Right.
Like, I'm just doing legs today.
Right. With consequences.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right. It's pretty terrifying,
Yeah.
actually, at certain times. Like, slab climbing, like, you know, 4th class, but still, like, with, you know, slip
Slippery
and fall,
granite. Yep.
you're going to roll off an edge with a giant haul bag on the back. Anyhow, so we bail, we drive up over Tioga with the idea that it's about to be Memorial Day weekend. Tioga Pass has just opened. And if we even if we were even sort of lazy on a Friday before Memorial Day, driving up over there would have been a nightmare. So we blaze up over middle of the night, get down to the other side of Tioga, out of the park. Everything's full, like campground wise, so we just bivvy, which is what you're supposed to do anyway as a climber. About 3 o'clock in the morning, we go to sleep after getting there, getting our stuff, 2:30 maybe, and then it fucking starts to rain at like 5:30 in the morning.
Yep.
Which, you know, the car's packed full of stuff, so we could have just gotten up and dumped it all and tried to get in the car. But instead, we just sat in the front seats and tried to sleep. And then at 5:45 or so, or 5:50, I was like, let's get some coffee. And we headed down to the infamous mobile station on the Vining, and I had steak and eggs.
Yep. And a big burrito.
Yeah, and began our day, and that was the end of the climbing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, as a evaluation of my end of things, the whole idea behind this was that I'm 47 years old. As you all know, who listen to the show, I have a baby, the Enormo baby. And I thought to myself, well, what if I put this goal out there to climb Golden Gate, the next hardest climb after FreeRider, as like a goal, just maybe in the next like 3 or 4 years before like I'm fully just 1 foot in the grave, you know? And they're basically like, yeah, just like hovering over me, like waiting.
Icy breath.
Exactly.
On your neck.
Exactly. And I know you people over 50 will take issue with that, but anyhow, you were worried about it too. Don't lie.
Right.
Anyhow, so that was the idea. We'll go climb it. We'll see what it's like, and then I'll be like, oh well, I could probably do this, or I cannot do this. Anyway, I'm not gonna go back.
Yep.
It's hard. It's significantly harder than the FreeRider. There's definitely a lot. It's a lot less straightforward. Not just the hard climbing, but all the climbing. You know, the Salathe, which is what mostly the FreeRider is. It's the most obvious, like, continuous line on the Capitan. Maybe even more so than the nose.
Yeah.
Other than it wanders more than the nose, but it doesn't have the bolt ladders even that the nose has, or the chip traverse, or all these different things that the nose has. So it's a pretty continuous crack line that if you're not free climbing, you're definitely just plugging in like really good gear every move. If you're what we called free aid or afraid climbing, it's totally chill. This other thing, not really. There was definitely run out climbing stuff you had to free climb, and you just had to get it done or you were done.
Yep.
Like, because I brought hooks. I brought a little selfie stick. This is gonna be scandalous, but a little selfie stick clip, and I think I had a bolt kit to replace some bolts that have fallen out. If I was going to come back, I was like, well, I'm going to replace those bolts. So I had that, and in there I even had a pecker I found. So I had like the means to get through some stuff, and I used the hook.
Yes,
memorably. Yeah, memorably. And I definitely used the selfie stick to get past some stuff. So anyway, back to, but yeah, so that was the plan. The plan unfolded. The plan to check it out was achieved, and I checked it off as in, I don't know, to be in the kind of shape you'd have to be in to free it, or I would have to be in to free it. I just don't know if I can do that with my lifestyle and also living in Colorado. It feels like the granite, even though I'd climbed on it for years off and on, it's like, it's not my, even climbing in the black a couple times a year, a couple times a season, it's just not the thing I'm doing every day. And so it takes a while to get into it and to climb it fast and the footwork and all that sort of thing. So I think it's off the list of goals before 50. And I'll just chalk it up to a 5-12A or 11 plus A1 ascent of El Cap.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was your experience, Steve?
Oh, it was awesome. It's very difficult in the sense that it's just like physically demanding, and it's
this is your
hard
first wall.
This is my first El Cap ascent. So, in one sense, it's dream come true, life goal achieved. So, phenomenal. Really eye opening. Learned a ton about being efficient and climbing well and having courage. Even though I know you disparaged yourself, you certainly made it through some kind of hairy moments. Even on the last pitch, memorably, I don't know where to go. It's pretty awesome to hear 20 feet from the summit.
Yeah, we're like, yeah.
Right.
Like, if it wasn't so windy, I could have spit at the summit.
Right.
But, yeah,
right.
For sure.
So, yeah, and it's one of those things where, luckily,
I think I said, fuck this shit.
Fuck this shit. I don't know where to go. Exactly.
I was in the middle of the dots. Yeah. I was in the middle of the dashes somewhere, like near the top.
And the only bait I had for you was I was like, I think it said there's a good hold up and left somewhere. Yeah.
And that was true.
Yeah.
That was actually true. It finishes like basically on a giant jug rail, like basically on the top, or it's till close. You're on a big slab, that there's not like a summit, but anyhow.
Yeah. So, and then luckily for me, I'm a little bit younger than you, and it's. I didn't mean that to be disparaging, but it just.
Luckily,
inspirationally, it just means that like having seen what can go on the Big Stone, you can kind of just put that to my own climbing and be like, okay, I can accomplish things that maybe before doing this I didn't think would be possible, just with some dedication, training, and just a lot of climbing, and which is like what I want to do anyway.
Sort of like a bullheaded, like
determination.
Well, and I think a lot of like denial. I had like, I really sitting up there like day 3 or 4. When we were kind of waiting to get into that upper head wall.
Right.
And I was openly nervous and telling you like, well, hope I can get through it all because, a part of my brain was, keeping track of how we were going to get down.
Yeah, right.
Because it was possible, absolutely. But it was going to be a fucking boondoggle to get down, you know? Because we had you traverse the first 5 pitches of it, go out to the right of the Salathe. So basically, you kind of have to reverse that and then get back to the Salathe. And then once you're on that, you can go down really fast. It's all set up to get down quickly. But I mean, anytime you're rappelling with haul bags and stuff, it's a pain. But yeah, so that, a piece of my brain's doing that because the other piece of my brain's like, what have you done? Like you think you're still like 25. Right. It's kind of my conversation. Yeah. I'm like, you don't climb this hard anymore. Like, or at least at this moment. And the fact is I planned this out a few months ago, and then in my brain, I'm like, of course I'm going to train. And then of course life got in the way of training. And so, I walked in untrained. And also, I have this like elbow issue happening that kind of appeared about a month ago or a little more. I think from climbing on a couple really cold days without old man warm up. And so I was just up there like, you've like dragged Steve up here and you may not even be able to climb this thing, let alone free it. So all that was going on in my brain,
Yeah.
So,
for sure. Well, that's what we were joking.
And we had to sit there for 2 days in the rain, like
exactly.
Although at that point I was like, okay, we can get out of here.
Yeah.
But then it's always that thing where every pitch you go higher, you're like, all right, well, we're a little further. We've just gotten, and frankly, there was one last pitch that there's 2 5-13 pitches that are like 4 and 5 and 6 pitches from the top. And, that was the kind of worry is like, we'll get all the way to there and I won't get anywhere.
Right.
But it turned out to be fine. They were like clipped like tons of gear. So.
Yeah, well, that's like more to my point of we were joking. It was like, oh, I got my money's worth, but it was definitely like the full on experience. Like we had decisions, like critical decisions to make. Like when we were on El Cap Tower, it was like, do we just go on Salathe and like get an ascent of El Cap, or do we actually do the mission of getting you on Golden Gate? We have weird weather, like all this stuff, and it was awesome to like break that down in like a real context. But more of like a different, like in an expedition, I would expect in Alaska or something. Like that's the type of stuff I'd be doing a lot. But like I didn't really envision that happening on El Cap. Mm-hmm. And so to have that as my first one, it was like, this is awesome because now I can really see how it's just more experience on the whole thing. As opposed, if it were just t-shirt weather, it would have been like, oh yeah, it was t-shirt weather.
Yeah, like
no big deal.
Like in the brochure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it feels like El Cap, because of the way people are climbing it now, it does feel super casual.
Yeah.
In a sense, at least when you read about it, and even us, I talked about Brad being up there suddenly, just from the ground in a day, like as high as or higher than we were after 4 days, whatever, 3 days. And so there's that like aspect of it where it starts to feel casual, and Arnold and Tommy were both in the valley, like trying to do some speed climbing on the nose, and they were down to like 3 hours. So by the time we'd wake up and like eat and hang out and get our stuff packed up and like maybe start leading the first pitch of the day, they would have theoretically already done the nose, right?
Totally.
And be like in the cafe,
yeah,
drinking coffee and I don't know.
Arnold's fingerboarding again.
Yeah, he got his fingerboarding.
Real workout in.
Yeah. Yep. So it's just weird, but then to all the people up there who are wall climbing like we are and like Team Anzac was, it's suddenly this wild, serious business.
Yeah.
And even, it's like the nose has got the train, there's people on the nose, but their experience, if they're climbing in that style with that experience level, it's the same. It's like, they're like, fuck, this is serious,
Yep.
and it is, people get hurt and get killed. And, so it's a weird, like paradox of both feeling like it's been dumbed down to casual. And then, also this, we talked about that. The weird thing about it too is feeling you're looking at, traffic, like real life city level traffic going on, 2,000 feet below you, horns and beeping. And you can sometimes hear the Green Dragon lady talking about El Cap and all that stuff. And yet you're just like, well, we're stuck here. We're stuck here, and that's a weird thing.
Yep. And the helicopter.
Yeah. And the chopper one day, I guess somebody fell off the hike on Half Dome. Some tourists slipped on that and died. So we watched the chopper all day one day doing body recovery, most of the day anyway, which is actually really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
That sound of the chopper in the back of your head while you're climbing, but obviously necessary.
Right.
So anyhow, a lot of feels up there on the Capitan.
Definitely.
Even after all my years, a lot of feels up there. So anyhow, then we went to Bishop and went to Mule Days.
Yep, that's right.
Out,
that's right.
Now we're in the desert and headed home. See my baby.
Want a beer? You gonna call room service? We got beer. You haul beer up this rock, you're insane. I may be insane, but I'm not stupid. I didn't carry it. You did. It's in your pack.
The teachers told me that's where it's at.